Okay, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to now get into my panel. And I'm going to surprise two people. They'll be very surprised when they walk up here. But put your hands together for Mr. Nathan Kabare. These people who are not putting their hands together. Huh? These people who are not... Nathan, please, karibu. Just pick a seat. And another one is Dr. Franka. Guko, please put your hands together for Dr. Franka. Please come on here. And the last panelist, we'll have two more panelists joining us when they do join us. And the last one is Jenny Njuki. Please come on stage. Come on stage. Karibu. Please pick the middle seat. I'll tell you a funny story at the end in there. Now, maybe let me start with Nathan. Nathan, you're my new friend. Why are you here? What's your story? Just a brief introduction. How did you find yourself in tech, and how has it affected your life?
So, morning, everyone. So, my name is Nathan Kabare, and guilty as charged. I'm the one who put President PYA. So, PYA in full is Possible Youth Africa. So, we basically have the same mandate in line with what AYLF is doing. And but I'll get back to that. So I was asked a question of how I got into tech. So I think since I was a child, I've always been the problem solver. If there's an issue with something in the house, my parents would just look at Nathan and they'll be like, go figure it out, yeah? So that's how I basically developed an interest for tech myself. So same case with Dan here. When I went to university, I wanted to do engineering. But fortunately or unfortunately, because I was very hyper-focused on ensuring I went in on job, I couldn't, or rather my cluster points refused to collaborate. They refused to, collaborate with my dreams. So I ended up taking up a very unique course in applied physics and computer science. So yeah, big brains in the house, yeah.
How do you say that on yourself? Huh? Makofi hapo ndio mnaweka makofi, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, so however, I think also fortunately as well, in the process of doing my applied physics and computer science, I was also working in sales. So in the poll, I also put sales evangelist. I don't know if you saw it on there.
Let's see.
Yeah. So that's another thing that I do. So essentially, as such, because of my background in applied physics and computer science, and also now close to 10 years of experience in sales and business development, I serve as a technical sales consultant for a couple of startups here in Kenya and I'd like to say East Africa, maybe West Africa, South Africa, yeah. So that's essentially my journey of how I got into tech. It all began as a curiosity, or rather as a curious child, when you see something is wrong and you're like figuring it out. So yeah, as such, in that regard, especially now for this conversation, I serve as a technical sales and business development executive for Sanifu AI by Patika, which is an ex-Y Combinator startup from the 2022 season. And we are doing some amazing stuff in the AI space. And I'm glad to be part of this conversation. So that's essentially Nathan in a nutshell. I'm a professional yapper, like I can talk forever. So
Okay.
Sales evangelism, yeah. So let me cut myself short so that the other speakers can have a chance to speak.
Nathan, you threw in a lot of acronyms,
Yeah.
which we need to be very careful.
Yeah.
But I picked some of them.
Yeah.
What is job? to begin with?
Job is the former. Sorry. I think not everyone here is Kenyan. So you might not understand what JAB is. So JAB is the joint or the previous joint admissions board for Kenyan universities, where once you sit for your KCSE, they have the task of placing you in your university or the course that you want to choose. So that was JAB, yeah.
What is Y Combinator?
Y Combinator is a startup accelerator out of the US that basically funds or supports startups that are looking to launch and provide support in that value chain, yes.
What's an accelerator?
An accelerator, let's see. It's essentially, I wouldn't call it a fast track, but it's a focused environment where startups are put together and they are basically trained or given some thought leadership in whatever thematic concern that they're looking to solve. So that's essentially what an accelerator is. And there are multiple in existence, quite a lot here in Kenya as well. As you guys probably know, or if you didn't know, like in 2024, out of every $3 that was invested in the continent, $1 was actually invested in Kenya. So when it comes to the startup space in Kenya, and if you want to venture into that space, you're probably in the right country, in the continent. So
what's a startup?
A startup. Hey.
I know, you said you're a professional yapa. Let's go for it.
Yeah, you know, chivalry does still exist, so I was hoping to hear some voices here for the women, yeah? But anyway, a startup is essentially, it's the niche term that we use for organizations in this new age. So, yeah, I've never been asked that question before, and I work professionally about startups for a living.
Awesome. Now, last question. What is an AI? What is AI?
AI is an acronym for artificial intelligence. It's as simple as that, yeah.
Awesome. A round of applause to Nathan. And why I did that is sometimes we have conversations that are up here and we don't understand how it gets to us. So this tech, Daktari, this tech manenos, most people will say that there's a lot of tech talk, but it doesn't affect most professions that we have seen in there. Could you just give us your journey on tech? Does it have an influence? How did you pivot from being a medical doctor to a software programmer and opening people up as late as last week?
Okay, thanks for the question. How did I start my journey in tech? So, Nathan gave his background of how he was this guy who was trying to fix things. I guess I was this girl who was trying to always fix cars in a way. So growing up, I was, whenever my dad needed to do something with the car, I would open up the engine, check the oils. Probably was not really doing the right thing, just doing routine stuff. But eventually the interest peaked in terms of, okay, so how does this work? How much oil do I have? How does the battery work? Where is the battery? Where's the radiator? And all that. But then, of course, I was to do computer science. That didn't pan out, God's will. Thankfully, I'm now doing medicine. So, medicine is very, in the traditional sense, it's going to the clinic, see a patient. If I need surgery, fine, let's go to theater, I cut you open to cure you. Or I prescribe a bunch of medications to help you treat an illness. But then when we say tech now in the healthcare space, so first of all, a couple of us used our phones to say, no, we have not used tech before. So just something as simple as a phone to be able to access Google, to obtain information. Currently to use ChatGPT, hopefully not to do your assignments, but, maybe to help you do your assignments in a smart way. So then me pivoting precisely into tech in healthcare. there are existing systems that have been there for the longest time, whether it's electronic records, whereby you come to a hospital, I'm using a computer to communicate to the lab, to access your medical information, to see what history you've been doing. So you come to the cashier, I use a computer to access accounts and to make my work easier, to give you invoices and statements. So that has been there, that exists, still exists. For those who are interested in Kenya, there's still a big space in terms of having a unified electronic system where different hospitals can access different health information, whether it's accessing images like CT scans or MRIs. I hope that's simple enough, or MRIs or other ultrasounds, just being able to access lab results. So there's a big space for anyone who's interested in developing an electronic medical record system. Then coming back to me, so I started a company called Gear Health, mainly focusing on preventive medicine. But then now on the tech side again, healthcare, during COVID era, not everyone could leave their houses to attend a doctor's visit, but then consultations needed to be continued. People needed to get their prescription refills, whether it's for diabetes, hypertension, whatever it is really. So that was, in a way, almost, it led to a bigger surge in the digital healthcare space. So then being able to book consultations where you're seeing the doctor from the comfort of your home, or you order lab tests and a nurse just comes in, gives you a prick, and I take your sample, I go with it home. But then also like in Gear Health, we are doing that, but also coming to a shift where people want to have access to information on their phones at any time in a simplified language. So for me, then we developed we have the app, which is called the G-Sort app, G-Sort app, whereby in that space now, we're trying to bring healthcare to be more accessible to people. So you'll be able to access healthcare information. You'll be able to order prescriptions. You'll be able to get
information. Now you're doing sales now. You're doing sales now.
I'm doing sales.
But how do you, a medical doctor with a medical brain, think about tech? Because that doesn't add up.
So how do I think about tech? So first of all, I do think tech is the future of Africa. I think tech, first of all, still stays as the biggest industry that has room for expansion, and everyone should have a bit of a technological skill, whatever that may be, from data analysis, from building systems, website designs, graphic designers, photography. So me seeing that, like currently the spaces, tech is replacing. Okay, so for even systems, looking at industrial revolution now, it used to be more manual labor, but now systems, technology is able to do things at different parts. So then for me as a doctor, I think it's just an element of pivoting then. As the world is changing, how then do I stay relevant?
Okay. You are a coordinator with AYLF and a leader. Did you use any tech? Or that was lost on you?
No. As a leader in my life, it was more on the simplified version, but it was still making my work easier. I mean, communicating. I was using a smartphone to communicate, organize meetings.
Okay. Let me move to Jenny. Jenny, by the way, has been a very significant part of my life because one day she calls me and tells me, Dan, there's a national, I need you to put together, I need you to convene. At that time in Kenya, 2019, there was a surge of teenage pregnancies. Yeah, so she calls me and says, I need you to put together a conference like this, a team, so that we can be able to curb this national disaster, if you can call it. I didn't think it was a disaster, but the organization did. And then we put it together, and she put together an amazing people together, and it changed my mind on that. But one thing I picked from that is your comms abilities and skills. Could you just tell us a bit about that and how you have used it across the years? Because right now you have one thing that you're doing, ending malaria in Africa. Can you just talk about that a bit?
This is so funny. And please allow me to laugh because when Dan brought me on this stage, first just listening to Nathan and listening to Dr. Franka, I'm like, what am I telling these people about tech? You know, when you put on the stage and you're like, I'm not the tech expert here, but I thank you, Dan, for just simplifying it and just making tech sound very normal because it is. It's in everything that we tend to do every single day. as much as there are people who have said in the room that they haven't used tech, I probably should have been among those, because when you hear tech, it's a word that can scare you. I think when Dan, you invited me on stage, I was like, what are you telling me? What am I going to tell people about tech? I think particularly, and I want to say this from and I could be wrong, right? But I think when you think about the continent and when you think about Africa, tech and AI still feels like buzzwords, It's still something that we still have to ensure that there is that common understanding. So that's where I want to start from. But thank you for simplifying it and making it feel like, yes, I have used tech, I'm actually a guru in tech when he says that I have used it. So my journey in tech, or pretty much how I've used it, I don't even want to call it tech really, but as a communicator, it's one word I asked Dan not to introduce me as, but I am a communicator. We'll accept it at this point. But what I realized with tech, one, it provides access. Because being Kenyan, I'm able to engage with people in Nigeria, Rwanda, the US, the UK. You can work from your home thanks to tech. And so it enables you to convene different voices and different people instantly, right? And so it gives you access to spaces, to people that you wouldn't have gotten a few years back. So I leveraged on that as well quite a bit, because through the engagement that Dan just talked about, convening young people, one, tech enables that. I think it's an enabler, it's a driver that brings each and one of us together. Franka just talked about, WhatsApp and coordinating through those different platforms that keep coming up. And then the other thing around, just beyond thinking about tech from access, is that we all now have devices that are, accessible to each and one of us, right? So whether that's a smartphone, I had us calling it something different in Uganda. Was that Uganda or Rwandese? But in Kenya, we called it Mulika Mwizi, and I had Katululu, right? Katoch. Okay. Katoch. But I think for me, it's using it as a power tool. For me, it becomes a power tool. Technology, the phones that we have, it's a power tool. It enables you to have access to things that you wouldn't have had. We've talked about Google. You just Google and you use ChatGPT, which I must say I do use quite a bit, Franka. But you did say use it smartly. So I think with that is to say that it cuts across. It cuts across various skills, various professions. And I'm happy that you put out, the different professions. Because as these guys were talking in this end, I was like, this are tech experts. But when Dan asked that question, I can relate, because I am still using technology, right? And it's being used from telemedicine, it's being used by communication experts, whether it's developing platforms that people convene or provide a solution in one way or another. So even those that probably do not call themselves tech experts, I want to say we are, including in our communities. Yeah. When we're using M-Pesa, when, boda nikilipa boda yangu, I'm using tech. I'm using French for those who have not understood. But I just said if I'm paying using mobile money, right? I'm using technology. So I think tech is one thing that we can say it's here with us. It's the future, yes. It's the present. And it's one piece of thing that you can't ignore in life moving forward.
What did you study?
Finance.
Let me introduce the next panelist, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, tell us how are you on this stage? How are you here talking about tech? What's your background?
Hi everyone. Let me first applaud kila mtu hapa. This is some far place, but tulimanage sisi wote. So congrats to all of you. How am I on this stage? First off, my journey is pretty unorthodox compared to probably the other panelists hapa juu. I'm a graduate of University of Nairobi, So what I did in campus was applied mathematics. And yeah, Najua, it's a big buzzword, but don't be worried. Did the 4 years in campus, but I had this purpose. Like I had this longing to do something greater. So eventually I happened to stumble upon Moringa School, where I had a couple of mentors back in the day, and we ended up doing the whole tech ecosystem. They were guiding me along the way, and I found my way into this journey. Initially, I thought, well, it's a cool way to make money, but but as soon as I dove deep and nikajipata in a streamlined way, that I thought, yeah, things are actually happening. And funny enough, along the way, I got to meet some cool people. I don't know if a lot of you heard about Sandy back in the day. So my mentor was actually the co-founder of Sandy. So me looking at tech as a way to make money, alinionyesha like a lot of possibilities within tech where you can actually influence decisions. You can actually shape the tech direction of a company towards what you envision it to be, implement tools, and he gave me the autonomy to do a lot of things within the tech space. So I was among the first people who ended up joining Sandy, did my stint there, went to Andela, did my stint there, eventually found my way to where I am today at Kwanza Tukule, where I am the lead software engineer there, and in Scout Global.
Okay.
And in Scout Global, where I'm a lead engineer as well as a co-founder, where we are doing things to do with sports analytics, where we use AI to analyze the sportsmen in this country, what are their injury histories and where do they improve in their journeys and so on and so forth. Yeah.
It felt like you're bragging just about there. I'm going to leave after Emmanuel says that, how do I place myself in tech? I can't. But thank you. At least good to see you. I want to call one more person on stage, Sophie. Sophie, come on stage. At least we have some gender balance over there. Thanks, Jenny. I think you'll be safe there. Emmanuel, please give Sophie the mic. Sophie, how are you on this stage, and why were you clapping when Emmanuel was saying that?
I was clapping because...
Yeah. It's good, take this.
Hi, guys. God is good. I was clapping because I can relate. Relate in the sense that tech seems like this big thing. Seems like this new thing. It seems like a buzzword. It seems out of touch. But the reality is there's so many opportunities for anybody to be able to make something for themselves. And the best thing about tech is it's applicable across industries. He's just talking about analyzing the injury history of sportsmen. Like, what? That's so cool. So how I ended up on this stage, it feels like it was by accident, but on God's green earth, there are no such thing as accidents. I work with Africa Product Peers in partnership with Lemuel Abeshua. We also partner with Gitari Tirima from Fingo and part of your community. I'm passionate about the youth. I'm passionate about the time we're in. Lots of shifts, lots of transition. My background is in law. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in catering. I have a digital marketing agency, and I've been in the industry for about 10 years. And I feel like we're at a point where there's a huge shift and everybody can get on board. So because I'm passionate about all these things, I felt like coming here even to meet you guys, to hear what's happening on your side of the world, learn and grow. For me, that was
that's why I'm here. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Back there, I can't hear any claps. I can't hear anything. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm going, now that we know the background, it's very diverse, right? From lawyer to, I don't know what Nathaniel does, I've forgotten already. And in between there, right? Medical doctors. And
Sorry,
then...
first of all, it's not Nathaniel. I actually hate being called that. It's Nathan.
I'm sorry, Nathan. Yeah. So let me open it up for questions. Maybe you're wondering, the point of this panel was just to show you or to just have a discussion on how can tech influence whatever you're doing. Either you're in university or you're already doing something. Are you using the biggest search tool in the continent, right? So, yeah. Any questions for the panelists? Anything that they say that sparked your interest and you want a bit of more clarification? Let me start here. Where?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah from Uganda. So I'll ask the panelists, as technology is advancing, don't you think that it's depriving people of their skill and ability for critical thinking as people devote to using AI for whatever thing they want to access? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Jude Mugo from Kenya. I have a question to two of our panelists. Personally, I'm a medical student and an AY LEFA. You say that? Yeah, so I was thinking, what are the tasks in the medical field that you think, in your own opinion, that cannot be taken over by AI? And have you approached patients in the past that have had doubt in the medical system, and how did you navigate them? And to our panelists who has had a campaign on teenage pregnancy and communicable diseases such as malaria, this is more of a question and a suggestion. We know that non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, cancer, heart diseases are on the rise. So are you running also a campaign on non-communicable diseases as well as communicable diseases? Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bright from Tanzania. And my question is, with the increasing level of automation, specifically the rise of AI, how do you, as a panel, how do you think we can coexist with the AI development, but also not feeling threatened by it?
Thank you. Mine is about language. Like AI is a lot in English. So I don't know if we are in Kenya, for example, it can be translated into Kiswahili or other languages that can benefit people who didn't go to school. So for me, my fear is a gap with literates and illiterates.
Okay, let's do that and then.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm called Tendo Talik from Deji University, Uganda. As a tech student and a software development student, I have a question that what's one major mistake or failure you've made while learning or building in tech, and what did it teach you? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My name is Henry from Makerere University, Uganda. My question is one, and it goes. On the cloud, and that's tech, there is a lot of undesired information. Namely, you can maybe name it like pornography and all undesired information, for example, for the young and the youth. And we really believe that people who have the skill in tech you might be having that knowledge to put restrictions or a way that you hide it from these young people. How far have you gone with that? Or if not yet, what are you planning about it? Thank you so much.
Let's just keep your hands up. Let's let them answer that so that they don't forget. And then, yeah, let's start with the person who is called Nathaniel, not called Nathaniel.
Yeah, so I think from the questions that have been asked, the ones that I can definitely tackle because they are within my thematic concerns are critical thinking, depreciation due to the use of AI. So I'll answer this. That's the first question. The next one is automation. How can we coexist with AI without being threatened by it? And then the other one that I think I can also tackle is the semantic aspect of AI with regard to translation into multiple languages and the failure we're learning in tech. So critical thinking, depreciation due to the use of AI. So I don't know if you guys have read, there's a report that was recently done by the World Bank they basically carried out like a test where there was randomized controlled by the World Bank of students using GPT-4 as a tutor in Nigeria. So 6 weeks after the teacher, or rather 6 weeks of teacher-led tuition, that's after school tuition, and then another control sample with guys who are having AI as their tutor with this ChatGPT model 4. And one of some interesting results was that AI tutoring increased test scores equivalent to 2 years of learning gains, outscoring and outperforming 80% of other educational interventions. So what I normally say when this question about critical thinking reducing as a result of AI is two things. So first things first is human beings were created to be social beings, yeah? And we can't run from our natural disposition of being social. And that's something that AI is taking away from us, where some of us here use ChatGPT as their therapist. Hands up. So you see, yeah, there's that element where AI is really taking away that human aspect of us being social beings. And in my opinion, as such, the independent use of AI, for example, in this use case as a tutor, can harm learning in some circumstances because it gives an illusion of learning. You know, so there's also that catch-22 scenario where you have to find that fair balance because you can't run away from AI, but it is a part and parcel of our standard operating procedures as it is right now as human beings. So it's up to us to just understand that in the same way as alcohol is dangerous, in the same way as cigarettes are harmful, in the same way as all these other things are harmful, improper and irresponsible use of AI is also harmful in that regard because you are robbing yourself of that social aspect. So for example, I've had some crazy cases about people having their girlfriends as AI. I mean, where is the world heading? So you see, there's that element. So whenever I'm asked about that, that's the short response that I normally try to give. So the other question is automation, and can we coexist with AI without being threatened by it? So for that question, I will link it up to the work we are doing at Sanifu AI by Patika Africa. So we would not like, or we'd never like to think of ourselves as just another tech company, but essentially we like to think of ourselves as a solution. So what Sanifu does is we automate repetitive tasks and orders for multiple manufacturers in East, Central, West Africa, South Africa. We are having exploratory chats in the UAE and also handling market entry in the US as we speak right now. And what we do at Sanifu is we make order processing and document processing faster, more accurate, and more efficient. But why is it important? And this is why we see ourselves as a solution and not just a tech company, is because we are freeing up time for key decision makers in the industry when in terms of doing repetitive tasks. So for example, instead of a key decision maker waking up every single morning, opening their email and having to sort through hundreds and thousands of LPO and LSO's orders, you find them every single morning. Sanifu has automatically already pasted it onto your ERP platform, and all you need to do is just validate. So what are we doing? We are accelerating the pace at which you make decisions. So that's how I feel that we can coexist with AI, where first of all, we are not using it as our God and as our savior, but we are using it to increase our productivity. Because, for example, one of the ICPs we serve, ideal customer profiles.
Could you combine that with that? Do you do that in multiple languages? The one Rebecca asked.
I'm literally tying it up to that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so our solution is quite interesting because first things first, it reads LPOs and LSOs in multiple formats. It can be a PDF, it can be an email body, a handwritten note as well. And also, basically, we also integrate with WhatsApp as well. So we've trained our model to have semantic learning, where, for example, someone will type an order in WhatsApp, bazenga nitumie, So it's smart enough to understand semantic matching, where you can be able to, it can be able to read that this is an order, and then because of that semantic training, it can be able to now translate the order query into whatever data is in the ERP platform for whatever client we serve. So that's where that question for now semantic matching or semantic learning for AI is coming in, where I feel that right now, I believe if you open ChatGPT, you can have a conversation with it in Swahili and it'll answer you in Swahili, right? So I feel it does accommodate us in that regard, and most LLM models give that flexibility for training on semantic learning. So the other last question that I think I can tackle so that I can also give the rest of the guys a chance to answer questions that they are comfortable with tackling is failure while learning in tech. So I'll give a very left side and personal story for this. So there's this quote, I don't know if you guys, obviously you know about it, blood is thicker than water. Yeah. That's not the quote. So blood is thicker than water is a bastardization of the original quote, blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb.
Did you know that? How many people knew that? Hey. Okay, yeah. Clap for yourself then.
So essentially, what does that mean? Relationships that are in your life by chance, as opposed to relationships that you are in your life by choice, are often stronger than, say family. For example, for my case, I have a huge raffle at the moment with family, where my support system is made up of people that have come into my life as a result of me choosing. I found my tribe. So I feel that in my journey of learning tech and exploring that gap in my life before I realized that bastardization of that quote is a gap that really lacked, where you're constantly taught that family is everything, blood before, but then in real sense, it is the people who you shared blood with in battle that are closer to you and they understand your pain points better. So as such, I'm not going to tell you guys, don't focus on what family tell you, it's a personal decision. But then there's a very interesting quote that I love, that even fools grow old.
Hey, you're clapping to that, eh? Okay. Yeah, so, Nathan, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah,
Because everything you say, what? How do you define bastardization? What is bastardization? How many people know that definition? Raise up your hand. Okay, how many people didn't know the definition of bastardization? And the rest? Yeah? Yeah? Oh, you put 1 + 1 in the context. I like that. Doc, anyone else pick that up? Yeah, and then I'm being told you can still send the questions and then we'll read them. They're coming up there.
Okay. Thank you. I think I'll just try to tackle a few. One, let me start with the one on campaigns. Teen pregnancies and malaria. So that has been because probably of the institutions that I worked for, right? So I formerly was with AMREF Health Africa and now I'm with Malaria No More UK. So I think campaigns are there. Campaigns exist. I think, and most likely you would find this with different organizations have different mandates, but also a lot of this is different from the Ministry of Health. So the Ministry of Health in every country, of course, has a wider national strategy in terms of health. And so they have different campaigns, of course, against different diseases. But that's just to answer that particular question. And then I also want to challenge Nathan and everyone else here, particularly on AI, because I really liked the question around translation. I definitely believe that localization is one step that will bring everybody closer to this conversation that we keep talking about, you know, AI and what really digital access is for everybody. And I think I was listening to something this week, so this is quite interesting, that they said it's about 47 to 64, I could be wrong, languages that are translated on Google. So if I want to understand something around my mother tongue, it probably does not exist. And maybe that's the next phase, right? In terms of localization. Because if we are going to bridge the divide, right, in terms of everybody, even in the communities, that they would understand AI or technology, how we're saying it, we have to localize. We really have to localize. The other thing around it is expansion around digital training as a skill, but also around AI. I mean, it's not a common, that's why I said for me, it feels like a buzzword. You know, like that word that it's a cool thing. You're in town, you know what AI means. Go down to the villages, to the communities that need this access. They're wondering what you're speaking about. So there's a need and there's a gap around training and skill around this thing. And so, you know, it'd be interesting to learn more around what's happening in the literacy space. And maybe I'm not answering, but I'm adding 2 more questions. Yeah, but just a few thoughts there. And then the other one in terms of the rise of AI and how can we coexist? I think it's a balance, and I want to agree with what Nathan said. It's a balance because you look at the pros, you know, AI creates the learning spaces, the spaces to inform and to shape different conversations. And we have to have that balance. I use technology in such an interesting way because I'm also in policy and advocacy. So what that means, it's shaping conversations with our governments, right? I don't know if you guys have seen this trend on TikTok, but heads of states are on TikTok. Ramaphosa, just look at what Trump did the other day. It's the use of platforms like this, right? So again, how do you use AI to learn, to inform, and to shape different conversations, but also policies that affect you and I? So I definitely feel like it's a balance. AI shouldn't come to take the space of human capacity, but really should come to aid how we work, how we do things, and therefore seen as a tool and a driver, but not as a replacement of you or myself. And I don't think it should ever get there. Then I think the other question for me that I want to answer before I pass over to my able technology people. Hey, I'm feeling very, Dan, today you raised my profile. But an often mistake. So it reminded me that I used to actually work for an organization that tried to create a platform similar to Facebook, but for churches. It was actually called Church Blaze. And this platform was more around how do you develop, and this was before COVID. So I really think he thought before his time. How do you develop churches to connect online and different believers connecting in that space? However, his mistake was the founder, and also, probably us who are there in that organization, was that he actually, we would go to communities and get communities to invest in that technology, yet the people were not educated enough to understand their technology and their investment. So a lot of us right now, particularly young people, we want to run to invest in technology and AI because that's where we are and that's where we're seeing the future. But without that understanding, you could be putting your money at risk. So I hope you carry that, particularly now, more so that, there's this all excitement behind technology. And not to say that we're not making money. Please, I also want you to teach me how to make that money. But I think that's a really important lesson to think about as well. What are the risks in investing in technology, in AI, versus, of course, we've had the success stories, but just always have that behind your mind. And then
You said one more thing. Yes, and that's it.
The last one, no?
Okay.
Communication expert.
Okay. Make it like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'll try. I think information which is misguiding, and how do you put restrictions to that? I think values.
Okay.
We go to who are we and what values, and how do we build values and value-based communities and systems into the current progression around technology and the use of AI. How do we ensure that we are integrating this with the values that pretty much drive who we are? Yeah.
Awesome. So let me come to Sophie. Sophie, I know you're doing something called Jesus Tech, and I saw you smiling when Jenny brought it up. Could you just answer one of the questions and then?
Okay, I guess I can answer the one I was typing away at, which is failure experienced when building tech, and what did we learn? And clearly we did not broadcast that we were doing it enough.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was about around March, April, we had the Jesus Tech Hackathon. So with my partner Lemuel, we have 3 startups that we work on. So there's Faith Foundry, which is a faith-based tech startup. Then we have Africa Product Peers, which is a tech talent ecosystem, access to founders, access to venture capitalists, funding, etc. And then there's Generous Circle, which allows people to, we help people apply for grants. So yeah, with regards to Jesus Tech, we invited our community. So there's a Christian community called the Christians in Tech. We have events every other month, every quarter, and it brings together basically people, members of the tech community who believe in Christ. So we asked ourselves, how are we going to build? How are we going to impact communities for Jesus? Because ultimately, that is the mission in whatever we do as human beings, in my opinion. So yeah, we hosted the Jesus Tech Hackathon, and we invited different stakeholders to submit problem questions. We got a few. Nairobi Chapel submitted a request to build an LMS system for their training and onboarding of volunteers to church.
Does this thing, when you do, does it light you up?
Yes.
Do you feel very
We built it in
energized?
3 days, guys. We built these things in 3 days. That's how cool tech is. I guess that's why I was buzzing as everybody was talking.
You have a fan here who keeps on clapping, but he's clapping like very shallowly. Yeah. Let me move to Emmanuel. And there's a question on the screen. Emmanuel, you need to say your name again, because to the guy who joined Moringa School, how did you get there? And I'll add an additional question, and you'll add that. You brought down, I think in tech we focus on the wrong things. We focus on the tech and not what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Have you found that as an experience? Did you, like, I know you put down, I know you made Sandy go away. Could you talk about that?
Okay. How did I get to Moringa? As I said, my journey is pretty unorthodox, but in some ways it's not unorthodox. My big brother is a product manager at Microsoft. So he kept pressuring me when I was in campus at around second year. He was like, dude, like people are making money in tech. See, you find a way to join this school I've heard of. It's called Moringa. It's just here in Ngong Road because we live in Ngong Road. So me at the time, I was like, what is this guy? Umse ananiambia nini? You know, in like the youth kind of monotone approach. But as time kept going on, like I get introduced to some of his friends who are in tech. And I see the things that they are doing. I see the approach in which they are proud in what they are building and the braggadocious lifestyle that you guys know with the tech bros. And I wanted to be part of that. So eventually, Moringa had this part, like they were advertising a 70% scholarship. I don't know if you guys might have come across such advertisements. So me with my guts and belief, and because everyone around me was pressuring me to join tech, I ended up signing up for the scholarship and just a few math questions. And as I said, I did math in campus, so I'm pretty good in mathematics. So found myself in Moringa, did my stint there, and well, found a couple mentors along the way, and that's how I found myself into tech.
And the question they asked, are you making money? It is somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Are you making money in tech? And which platforms are you?
Currently, I'm employed in 2 companies. And as I said, one, I'm a lead software engineer. It's called Kwanza Tukule Foods Limited, where we deal with food distribution, trying to get food from...
You're not answering the question.
Yeah,
are you making money or not?
I'm getting there.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm trying to show the different avenues in which people make money. So for me, I have 2 employment sources, but I guess what you guys are most interested in how I'm making money. There are a couple platforms where I do some freelance work, and I might just give you a sneak. Atakama, it's not something people in tech talk about, but there's a site called Proxify. Yeah, so I hope you guys note that down because it's a serious platform.
Awesome.
So in Proxify, what you do is you sign up just like...
Let them go and Google. Just give them the name, let them go and do the work.
Yeah.
But one last question. What do you think, and I've seen it there, which recent tech innovation will most impact the society in the next 5 years? Any of you have that answer? Which recent tech innovation will most impact the society in the next 5 years? If not AI, I think we're putting a lot of money in AI. But is there another one that you can think about?
I think the future is probably in AI and machine learning, predictive models in terms of how we predict the future. Because in my current situation, as I said, in the company I'm in, there's a payment structure we did that we were kind of automating payments and keeping track of payments that are in our company. We have monthly generations of over 4.1 million US. So having to keep track of that and making sure like the errors are kind of kept to a minimum is a hassle. So with AI and machine learning models, you can predict the amount of revenue you will receive based on the orders that the customers are making.
Awesome.
And you can predict the different patterns and keep the errors to a minimum while keeping the uptime in the system at like a 99%. Yeah.
Machine learning and AI.
Yeah.
Nathan was itching to comment. Do you have an additional one?
Yeah, so, sorry. So in that regard, I'll give a quite holistic answer. So you guys have probably heard of the term entrepreneurship extensively. So who has ever heard of the term soulpreneurship?
Another word, right?
Yeah. So I feel that right now, especially with the heightened consciousness around being in touch with who you are as a human being, it would then implore for us to also seek for ways to do entrepreneurship that resonates with your soul. So basically, to just give a short description of what I feel soulpreneurship is, it's essentially a relatively modern and somewhat niche term that blends the concept of entrepreneurship with a focus on personal fulfillment, purpose, and integration of one's values and passions. So if I'm ever asked to describe myself in one word, I'd probably say soulpreneurship. And what that means is that the elements of soulpreneurship, first things is there's got to be a purpose to it. So soulpreneurs run or start businesses that align with their deeper sense of purpose. So for me, in that regard, there's my work as Possible Youth Africa president, where it comes from a personal pain of where when I was growing up as a child, I was, another word loading, I was intellectually infantilized a lot.
Hey. Hey.
Yeah. So what that means, and that word is quite rampant right now, because you can even see it for those who are in Kenya with the Gen Z protest and the Gen Z uprising. It's basically a communation of that word, where the older generation are treating us as infants when they're making decisions that are going to affect us and they're on their way out. So that's what purpose-driven entrepreneurship is. And as such, also now bringing it back to the conversation of the day, which is in tech, my work also as the technical sales and business development executive for Patika and Sanifu AI means that I get to empower my teams by creating an alternative way for also them making a living, which is something that I've also faced as a challenge in my life, where there were a lot of friction when it comes to impacting my thoughts into whatever businesses that I was hired to add my value in. So you end up living not only devalued as a human being, but in my case, devalued as a son and also as a man. So you see, that's the first key element of soulpreneurship. The other one is also personal fulfillment. So unlike traditional entrepreneurs who might prioritize financial success, soulpreneurs prioritize personal fulfillment and happiness. So in correlation to that with my life is I'd like to think of myself in the same way as Dan, as a startup system enabler, essentially as a service provider with transforming go-to-market strategies from layman to, rather from a technical side to layman, because of that experience in sales and business development and also the background in applied physics and computer science. So
Nathan, do you use this in interviews? Because you sound amazing. As in, I will hire you almost immediately. Do you use this in interviews?
I actually don't know the last time I did an interview.
Hey, we're sorry. We're sorry. We apologize. We apologize. But let me hear from Dr. Franka in medicine. Are you seeing any breakthroughs?
We're actually seeing a lot of breakthroughs, actually. And I'd like to question about the language, for example, that you mentioned. Because one of the biggest barriers is at times we are serving patients from wherever, really. So somebody comes from Pokot, you really can't understand each other, which can be very frustrating because you need to get that gist. So one of the things that we've been able to do so far, like working part-time with Kijabe, we noticed that a couple of patients, we give them instructions to go and do things at home and they really have no idea what we're saying. But then we found that AI can actually help us translate things. And now we are starting to slowly be able to translate discharge summaries. So as I tell you this in English, I have my English summary, but then the most recent one I got was a Pokot summary, actually. So the patient is able to actually have this information in their language, which if you ask me, that's amazing. And that's being able to solve so many questions. So AI is already enabling us to do that. And I think there's so much more room for that to happen.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
just in one.
I can see Sophie here itching. Apart from Jesus Tech,
Apart from Jesus Tech, there's a really cool demo that happened a couple of months ago in the Commonwealth where they built AI agents for different cabinet secretaries as well as the Attorney General, and then input the data on the infrastructure around, I think it was to TB in Western Kenya. So they input data on the infrastructure around their capability to deal with TB, how many cases there are, what the budget is, etc. Input data that is readily available. And then these now different secretaries came together to be able to use the budget to actively deal with the situation of TB in the region to the best of their ability. So from a budget perspective, how much do we actually have? You know, from a infrastructure perspective, what has already been built on the ground with regards to stocking of medicines and, you know, key clinical equipment, what is available, you know, and this now model allowed informing of the president. So this was sort of seeing how AI can come into governance and enable us, especially as African countries, who, you know, the transparency is not really there with regards to the spending of our hard-earned money. But AI offers hope in this sense, yeah?
so for
But
you,
then again,
you, it's AI.
But AI and technology, both. They go together.
Okay.
Let's be clear. But before you cut me off,
Okay.
I think that there needs to be a change of attitude with AI. Guys, we've come to our forum. I feel like everybody is looking at it like, you know, like it's scary. You know? The fact that all of us can contribute in one way or another means that there's opportunity for everybody. The same way beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, so do AI and tech, you know. As soon as we continue to, and even speaking towards critical thinking and the ability of AI to take our jobs and replace us, it's not possible, but it will replace the people who do not adapt. That's a fact. You get what I mean? When we come up with papers in university and submit them because we didn't bother to do some research and it's last minute, in a couple of years, the lecturers you'll be dealing with are not the same ones you're dealing with now. You'll be dealing with people who enabled themselves to be able to find solutions and productivity through AI and tech. So I just want to challenge everybody in the room. We have a talent social coming up in Tanzania in September. There are lots of opportunities for you to come and learn. You know?
Where are Tanzanians in the room? At least we have
Tanzanians. Woo! I'll take your contact.
Some are not raising their
Even
hands
Kenyans.
on the other side.
We're planning to penetrate East Africa, and the point is,
Yeah? Colonize. Okay.
We're coming to Uganda, but my point is, you guys are leaders. All of you are leaders in your own right. Yeah. What makes up good qualities of a leader? You need to be able to take care of your people. And if there's something that's coming that's looking like it's a threat, how do you then arm yourself to be able to support those people in your community? The question on language is, why not? We have a hackathon coming up. Guys, come and let's see how we can contribute. You know, people contribute to these language models. If you know a language and you speak it fluently, why not be at the forefront of that change? We have the finance bill that was translated manually last year. Yeah? Right now with AI, we can do some serious work. And it's exciting. So I would love for you guys to be excited. That's all I'm saying.
I like the passion, Sophie. I like the passion. Can you feel the passion? Yeah? A book clap once if you can feel it. And twice if you cannot. I knew it. Okay. I was hoping to get one round, but I'm seeing we're out of time. So just put it up there. But if there's a burning one, I can take. And then please prepare for a 1 minute closing remarks. And I hope it will be in this question. So I'll take it very fast. Just stand up and let me start behind here and then I'll come in front. And make it a question very fast.
My name is Luby from JQuat. My question is concerning the use. It's good and we see a lot of benefits, but we also see, I don't want to say dependence, but there is a way that it gets us hooked. The designers also find, okay, because of the use enables the designers to get money, because the more you use it, the more money is being spent there. So how would you advise us as the users of this tech to not find ourselves, enslaved to such, or even the people that we lead in terms of the policies we make? How can we ensure that children don't grow up very dependent on cocomelon, that they can't do other things? Thank you.
Awesome. There's a mother in the panel. Please take that. Okay, very fast, very fast. Make it punchy.
Okay, the theme of the gathering is the building of a nation, and I haven't had any mention of the AI factory, which is a first in Africa. How could you maybe speak to us a little bit about that and what it means to the regular person?
You talk about AI factory.
You've said give me 1 minute.
30 seconds. Tell us about AI factory. Go ahead. The first in Africa.
The first in Africa. I just want to understand how this would align to the building of the nation, which is the theme of today.
Awesome. I'm moving in front. Those here.
Yes, Tendo Talik from Deji University. So my question is about scalability in tech. As you know, as in Africa, we have different innovative ideas, but the problem is about scaling these ideas. So how do we approach this? Thank you so much.
Scalability. Awesome. And don't raise your hand if you didn't before.
Good morning. My name is Lucy Mora from Kenya. And as a medical student in Kenya and seeing what is happening globally in the medical field with other students being able to use augmented reality, surgical simulations like cadavers, like virtual cadaver labs, I'm wondering how and what are we doing wrong and how can we use policies and partnerships so that we can be able to integrate this into our system? And to Sophie, please, do we have a standard way of pricing your services? Because sometimes you go and you need a website for your organization. We are young, we have startups, but some people charge us so much, others so low. So is there a standard way of pricing that we can get to understand? Thank you.
Awesome. Good questions, eh? I'm seeing more hands. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Martha Nyawarga from South Sudan. So my question goes to the doctor. She talked about the translation into local languages, but then we all know that the way AI will pronounce a word, if it is audio, is not the way someone in the village would understand it. And also, not everyone who can speak their local language can read it. So how do you make these people appreciate AI? Thank you.
On this side.
Good morning. My name is Jero Peter Mudhom from Kenya. In recent days, we have had cases of intrusion of health systems with system intruders. What are policies that are put in place to ensure that health record systems are safely interoperable to other systems to ensure that patient data is safe and secure? Because to access any information of patient, it is only the doctor who is supposed to do so. But how do we ensure that this data is safe and secure for our patient? Thank you.
Wait, have you seen who is on the panel? Huh? That is a government question.
Hey everyone, I'm Desire from Uganda. So, our dear lovely panelists, I would like to ask you, this AI, for me, I'm against AI because I don't support AI. Because one reason is, whenever I'm making my research, I always make research about animal health and plant health, but AI gives me irrelevant answers and gives me wrong answers that I always collide with it. So, what solutions are you coming up with? What are you doing to solve out those errors that are made in those AIs?
You're agreeing, eh? Which one? Which part are you agreeing? The collusion or which one?
All right. I'm called Kennedy Lado from South Sudan. No, because because I came from Uganda. Yes. My question is, what is the impact of AI in the legal system of African countries like Kenya, and how can we reduce its impact in influencing the justice system?
Awesome. Pass it behind you. And then 3 more there, right? And then that's it. And 1 here. 3 there and 1 here, and then that's it. No, we already done that.
Okay. So my name is James Gama from Tanzania, and I have a question. How can early startups balance rapid innovation together with building sustainable and ethical technological practices?
So that ties with the scalability as well, right? Okay. 3 here. Break it punchy, and then 1 more last one there, right?
Morning, I am Samuel Baraka from Kenya. In the beginning, when Uber came, for instance, prices were very cheap. And it's because I think we were being baited. And when we finally took the bait, now prices are high, but you're dependent on it. And there's really no way you can run away from Uber now. I was recently reading something about every time I call an Uber, I am reminded of the lie that AI is. And I think this is something we could possibly address here. Is it that all this convenience that's coming with AI, we're talking about how it helps us do the simple tasks so we can focus on the bigger ones, talking about how we should incorporate AI because it reduces our work. But really, are we not being baited again? And if we are, the article I was telling you about was talking about maintaining core skills so that we do not lose out when finally ChatGPT is overpriced. But maybe you can tell us more.
So my name is Margaret Bilha from Kenya. So I have a very simple question. I've heard that there's AI gurus here. I want to know, as a beginner who is using AI tools, what are the tricks, or rather, what are the steps do you guys use to make sure that you use AI smartly so that we are not misled? Yes.
Awesome. Bring it here first. I want Alan to read this.
The money or opportunities as a result of technological tools never really gets evenly distributed to the least communities, as always advertised and projected. What's your comment? I repeat, the money, the opportunities as a result of technological tools never really gets to the least in the communities. Like, it hangs in the middle somewhere. Or you tell farmers, oh, you can find market for your food, but really the farmers are duped. So what's your comment, guys?
Awesome. Awesome. And then the last one? Oh, second last.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My question is, in research and innovation, we always have one of the ethics, which is integrity and honesty. So my question is, how can we ensure this with the presence of AI? Because at times the innovators may need to patent their innovations, and one of the things to put in place that you need to have the originality of that innovation. So how can we handle that? Thank you very much.
Okay. You're cramming all these things, eh? Because I'm seeing many are from you. Okay.
Morning, everyone. My name is Teslorine from Burundi, and my question goes directly to Nathan. I appreciated so much the concept of soulpreneurship, but I think also my question relates to what the others might have said. How then can we use this? Because we see this is also in the ways of tech and AI, but we don't want to lose the essence of who we are as human beings, because we still are. And even these things, they are coming from us, but truly, how can we use this? Because most of you have said, for example, Dr. Franka, she mentioned that we need to use AI in a measured way, but we are not told that. We are told to use this as a tool or as something we can use for the best of our ability and like to help us influence our decisions. But I want them to relate that with the concept of soulpreneurship, but also show us how we don't lose ourselves in the process.
Are you ready? Let me start from this side. So 1.5 minutes, try and summarize
Okay, so soulpreneurship and how you don't lose yourself, it's hard. Because when you're passionate about something and you feel called to it, and you've been able to figure out how to leverage the simple AI tools to move faster, you can go mad, you know? But grounding yourself and having a firm foundation, like you said, we're social human beings, carving out time, because that AI will not help you do. You have to decide to spend time with the people that you love and the people that you care about. Yeah, with regards to his question on... So Canva was down on Monday morning. Did anybody know? For about 6 hours. Did you guys know? Canva was down and people were going mad and no one was saying anything about it. Yeah. And it's crazy because so many businesses rely on this service that just recently became first female co-founded unicorn a couple of weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, they're dark. Presentations, projects, everything was left with no backup plan. So again, AI is not the answer. It's not the end-all, be-all. For you to be able to succeed as a digital graphic designer, you need to have some design skills. You know, you have to learn how to improvise. That's what I did. You have to learn how to improvise. So at the end of the day, you need to be sharper than your tools. Yeah? So you use the tools do not use you. And that's why I want us to not be scared of it. I was scared. I walked into my first tech event in Feb. And now I'm sitting and talking to you guys about it, you know? So many things can change, and that's the beauty of technology. So awesome. With regards to how you use your tools, there are bad people, there are good people. With regards to our leadership and how they use their resources, that's a different story. We can discuss later. But it's important for you because you know what drives you, and that's why you're leaders. Putting yourself up for any kind of election is not easy because you have to fight pride. Yeah, you have to ask yourself, why do I want to do this? Is it because I want to be seen or known by everybody? So you who has that passion for people, you need to do your part because that's all you can do. Yeah? And influence and impact those people that you lead.
Awesome, awesome. Emmanuel.
I'll answer two questions that directly affect me in a way.
Okay.
In regards to scalability and sustainability and security. So in terms of scalability, I'll answer in a technical aspect because I hope a lot of you guys here are software developers or aspiring. Okay, cool. In my line of work, scalability depends on the tools that a software engineer uses. So that could be in terms of the language that we're using and the tools that we are supposed to use in terms of DevOps practices maybe and microservices architecture in terms of splitting systems to sustain some different levels of the system. So what you find when you're building hobby projects is you start small with small tools, but as you grow, the system that you're building kind of develops from a monolith to this monster that you created, and it becomes kind of slow. So how we shape it as software engineers is from the inception, you build a system that can be able to be split into smaller parts, and the smaller parts can be able to grow within themselves, and you can attach teams to which some team deals with the sales side of the system, some other team deals with the marketing and the likes and so forth. In terms of sustainability, how do we sustain ourselves in this AI environment that we find ourselves in, and how do we not see it as a competition? Tools are meant to guide you. Tools are meant to improve you in any nature that you decide to venture in. A friend here has mentioned about transcription. I hope let me dive deep into the technical aspect. So in terms of transcription,
I have 3 minutes. So yeah, don't dive
yeah,
into
like
it.
it's a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of transcription, there's a model called Whisper. So how we use the model, because a lot of you might have heard Python is good in terms of the machine learning aspect, which I'm kind of answering the beginner aspect. So I'll pair it pamoja.
Okay.
When you do Python and you use the PyTorch and the pedantic languages.
Stop there. Please.
Cool. It's small.
Yeah.
You can take your video, maybe a public video or a public link, and you can use the Whisper models and the PyTorch to translate.
Please. Bring. No. So Whisper models. How many of you have heard of Whisper models? You want to hear? Okay.
Okay, cool. I'll put it in layman's language. So I was giving it in a technical aspect for the people who are engineers, but I'll put it
T-break.
Cool.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The models, you can take a public direct link and you put it in whatever program that has been built with the models, and you get to translate a lot of the said things in the video. So how it works currently is it's pre-positioned to use English, but when it's translated, you can use the the Whisper model that I was getting into and kind of translate the English language into any actual language that you want to translate into. So as per now, it's the major languages in terms of Spanish. Yeah, the big languages which have big.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I have to stop you there.
Yeah.
It's already unlucky for you now. You just have 30 seconds to,
Yeah, cool.
to your conclusion.
I'm already done with my hypothesis.
Awesome. Thank you. Jenny. Which mic do you take?
This one. Wow. I really think it's so brilliant to have an expert in the room. And I really want to applaud you because even for me, it's a learning point. And Dan, I want to ask Gabriel, I think we need a master class. I don't know where we're going to find these gurus and then we all just appear online and get a master class. But I think that's really brilliant stuff that he's sharing.
Just fund it. Just fund it from your budget.
I was just going to talk about scalability. I think really, I'm going to use a Kiswahili saying, and probably for those who are not Kenyans, look for a friend. I'm sure by now you've made those friends that are speaking Swahili. But kidole kimoja hakivunji chawa. So we all need each other. It's the only way to grow, even in terms of scale, is through partnerships. Partnerships they really play a key role. So you really need to ask yourself, who is in the room? Who are you talking to? Do we have government? You need government in terms of policies. You need the investors. You need the people who are giving us the funds and the finances. Then you need the experts who are helping us build these solutions. So as you're thinking about scalability, don't think linear, but don't think depth, but think breadth, right? So scalability is quite important. I think there was a question around, well, I can't remember what the question was, but I did write something because it sparked a thought. But we really need to institutionalize this in our national strategies. So again, going back to policies, going back to data protection and all that. So really asking ourselves, what does our national strategies talk about as well? I'm not an expert in this field, but I'm able to say that, there are policies and there are strategies that sort of speak to data protection and these things. And I'm looking at the experts, right? Confirmed? Brilliant. And then the other one for me was around educate. We need to educate. You need to use our voices. We need to build this skill. We need to ensure that there is this shared learning continuously. It's not just to sit with us in the room, but it's also how do we ensure that this pretty much has a ripple effect in terms of who are we meeting? How do we ensure that this is connected to our communities? Should we be thinking that this should be part of our curriculums if this is where the world is going to in terms of AI? And then the last one in my parting shot is, let's not live in the shadow of our fears. And I think, Sophie, you inspired that. Let's not live in the shadow of our fears, but let's be spirited to dance to the present day to day. So if it's AI, let's do the AI dance, right? And be ready not to live in the shadow of our fears.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much. 30 seconds each. I'm sorry. I'm 3 minutes over my time.
Okay. So sort of just to try and answer, not really answering per se, but sort of like as a parting shot.
Yeah.
The thing is, the world actually adapts to the needs at any given time. You know, things like smartphones have adapted over the years to enable us to carry them in our pockets and move around with them. Things like us having the Digital Health Act and other data protection policies weren't there before, but they have come now because times are changing, the world is adapting, right? We are no longer walking very many kilometers. We're using Ubers. We're using whatever we really are. And even in the health space, also just to touch on what somebody mentioned, we are having run clubs. We are having run dates and hike dates because we're able to keep track of how many steps am I taking, and we're making it fun. So in that way, technology and AI, it's not really just about, ChatGPT and machine learning. There's more to it than just that. Like, how can I monitor my heart rate? How can I, know what's happening in my home because I have like a security camera somewhere? So the thing is, like, maybe we also need to make it not an abstract idea, but AI, technology, machine learning, these are things in our everyday lives at this present moment now. And it's not just a matter of, I don't belong, I don't know tech. I don't consider myself a tech guru. If anything, I think I have very limited knowledge on tech. But it's just coming from a point of recognizing that, so this is something that's happening now. How can I then stay curious and learn what's happening? For you guys, AI can make your work efficient in terms of summarize for me chapter 10 of this textbook you're reading. Then you get a summary with the key points. That's making your work easier as opposed to going to the library, flipping through pages. Okay. So for me, my message is AI technology, it's not scary. It does seem scary, but it really, really isn't.
Awesome.
It's in our day-to-day lives. We can apply it in whatever levels, really, whether it's about Python or Whisper or whatever else he's creating, or whether it's just about opening my phone and using Google to search for something. It's very possible, and we can all learn to use it in different ways.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nathan,
Last but
shot.
definitely not least.
Yeah.
So my panelists have run away from anything related to AI questions. So first question at the back was AI factory in Africa. What that will do is it will accelerate the localization of language models to suit our context better. So the data cycle will reduce where data won't have to first go to like the US or where the data servers are, and then it comes back. So that also has an impact on the environment as well. So that's one of the key advantages I feel, or a very low-hanging fruit when it comes to AI. There was a question on someone who was against AI. So if AI is giving you a prompt that you do not, an answer that you do not agree with, it means then there are some execution gaps with your prompting to whatever language model you are using or whatever AI model you are using. So work on how you prompt, and you will get better results. So that should also tie with the person who was asking on tricks and steps to use AI smartly. So correct prompting of models. And then the other thing is use it when it is only necessary. So what that will do is you won't really reduce your critical thinking. You will be actually amplifying it, because AI gives you multiple scenarios that you do not think about. But then if you solely rely on its word as final, then you'll also now get execution gaps when it comes to being able to impact your critical thinking. The other question was on money trickling down. So I normally have two short answers for that. The first one is convenient ignorance, where leaders are I'll bring this word again, intellectually infantilizing their populace, where, for example, recently our president told us, people who are telling me about fertilizer, do you have a PhD in botany or whatever? You know, so there's that element where someone who's educated sees themselves as they have authority or thought leadership over you, when in real sense, the people who are really moving Kenya's economy are actually that Mama Mboga, that Juakali person. They're the people who are actually moving the economy. So when you treat them as infants in terms of their knowledge base, it will then cause a gap in trickling down of resources, trickling down of technology, trickling down of all these advantages to them.
Nathan,
Yes?
one sentence, your parting shot.
There's one question here that I want to answer. That
Put it on that sentence.
Then I'll now wrap it up, yeah? So translating soulpreneurship into impact. So basically collaboration, no man is an island. Finding your community, finding your tribe, because when you're holding onto a vision alone, you'll probably go fast, but you'll not go far. So that's where community comes in. So parting shot, there's a quote by a British boxer that I really love, that nobody is an original, everyone is copying someone. So as such, do not conceive your thievery, but celebrate it.
Yeah, repeat it. Put it down.
So nobody is an original. We are all copying someone. So as such, do not conceal your robbery or your thievery, but celebrate it. And now to just layer up onto that, for you to also now, because everyone is copying, be undeniable. So if AI is coming to take your job, be undeniable such that it's not going to take your job. Upskill, ensure that you're ahead of the trend, you know. And as a common phrase that we use in our space is that AI is not really coming to replace you, but a person who knows how to use AI will
replace you. Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you so much. A round of applause. And that corner over there. Yeah, like that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I hope you'll not leave almost immediately, because you have seen there's a lot of questions. So if there's any that they didn't answer, please approach them. My parting shot is there's a lot of opportunities, even from the question. So don't feel like you are only a receiver, a consumer. But if you're in a university right now, wherever you're working, it's an opportunity. Yeah, if you are, for example, my community is called the Kisii community. If the language is not there, then I put up forums in which we can be able to improve that language. So in tech, there is that opportunity. Google, all these big guys want someone to do that. So please approach your universities and say, hey, I want to put a community around. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then from there, doors will open. Yeah. So don't put it as if you are the consumer alone, but you can also be a creator in this tech and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. A round of applause to them as they walk to the stage.